cavity, cardiopulmonary cavity, and gut cavity inhibit functions of these areas and decrease performance dramatically, as all functions are inhibited unilaterally. Okay, next. However, high altitude dwellers experience, so when a high altitude dweller goes to a low altitude, in a competition cycle, in a short course, in a couple day cycle, they experience more pressure on the body, so fluid leaks out of the body cavities and into the arteriovenous system and gut lumen. On the inside of the gut, as opposed to the outside of the gut, which pushes on it and doesn't let it do its job. Now all the fluid's in here. Okay, well that's going to cause us problems. Low altitude cerebral dehydration leads to cerebral hypertension. You'll have more headaches. You'll have more of a chemical headache. I just don't feel as good. Poor decision making again. Inhibition of executive control, poor decision making. You'll have a harder time focusing. So you need to do this training to help work on focus in competition, because you're doing your training up here. You get down there, you can't focus as well. That's a problem. That's something we want to train into you guys. We want to make that part of your training program. It's not something anybody talks about. Low altitude pulmonary dehydration leads to lung epithelium breakdown and irritation. In other words, you're more sensitive to everything. A decrease in mucociliary clearing. Geez, I don't know. I can't breathe. It feels like I just can't make it move. Laryngeal bronchitis. In other words, you're going to have more bronchitis. Boy, it's really uncomfortable in here. I got the back of my throat, back of my nose are burning. I got all these problems. That's what you guys are going to experience when you go to low altitude. And low altitude gastrointestinal dehydration leads to lack of absorption. Again, you can't absorb nutrients. GI tract hypertension and constipation. Or you're going to have constipation on the one hand. On the other hand, you might have really loose stools and you'll be running back and forth to the bathroom constantly. So you have to learn how to manage that. You have to expect that. And the other part of it is, because of the excess fluid in your arteriovenous system, in your arteries, the kidneys will have an increased low, and so repetitive micturition will be ongoing. That's medical for you. I got to go to the toilet, coach. And so you're going to have to, especially when you've got equipment on or whatever, you're going to have to understand that's normal. Expect that. So work that into your competition cycle and training. Understand we're going to have more trips to the bathroom and more. That's a big part of competition. Is when do I go to the bathroom? What time of the day do I go? How many times do I go? We want to know these things because you're going to have to be able to work around those in your competition. It's not something you would generally think about, but especially when you go down in altitude, you're going to have a bigger problem with it. Fun stuff, right? Just what you wanted to hear. All right, what did you talk about? Well,
it's all related, though.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's all related. It's important. So here you go. Now here's the readiness app. You can see ready for high level exercise. Exercised, caused that problem. Ooh, take it easy now. Don't go ahead and let yourself recover from whatever happened. And then you recovered, okay, go back out and you can do your high level competition. So there's color coding and the levels of the bars on the HRV app will give you the information. And then nutrition, we talked about that. There are 3 types of fluid pressure drives in the body. Pressure on large volumes of fluid that drive them into or out of the large volumes. Cerebral edema, cerebral dehydration. Pulmonary edema, pulmonary dehydration. Gastrointestinal edema, or gastrointestinal dehydration. And they're known as osmotic pressure. Free protein levels are oncotic pressure, so if you don't have enough protein, you can't control fluid volumes. So the take-home message here is the best strategy to optimize the body's ability to use these pressures to compensate for athletic demand in the face of other stressors is to maximize protein, electrolyte, and water levels without introducing demands from unnecessary chemicals, like Coke, like Doritos, like the bag of candy my athlete ate.
Yeah.
You don't want other junk in there. As an athlete, you guys want to stay away from that in your competition cycle. So you're not having, especially when you're changing altitude, that's a huge stressor on you guys. You have to realize you're at a slight disadvantage. So take that information and make it work for you, and so that it's not a disadvantage. And part of that is eating the right things. Carbohydrates burn best in high oxygen environments, and protein is high energy fuel, but fat is the fuel that maintains a burn when oxygen stores aren't readily available. Okay? So, yes, you need your carbohydrates. Yes, sir.
Are you talking about going into a ketogenic type diet?
Yeah, yes, basically, yes. Yeah, you need fuel to burn. And the thing is what we would be, as a sedentary person, what becomes what is a ketogenic diet is called barely enough for somebody who's growing and competing. Or just competing and maintaining a high level of exercise. If you, see, all this stuff, all this information we get in our society about keep your salt level low. You know how many patients I've had, how many marathoners who have hyponatremia? You know, they have low sodium levels. Well, why do you have low sodium levels? Oh, sodium's bad for you. I'm on a low sodium diet because my doctor said when we have heart problems. You're a marathoner. You need salt. And a lot of you guys, when you sweat a lot in your competition, you may need salt pills. You don't want hyponatremia. You want hypernatremia. And that's what I mean about electrolyte levels. That you have to really watch that. A lot of poor performance is because you just don't have good electrolyte balance. And it makes your heart go funky, and that decreases performance again. Okay, and hydration, drink water. As Bear always said, drink water. Okay, any questions? It overwhelms you.
No, it's great.
Okay. Does that all make sense for you guys? That maybe help you tailor not only your training regimen, but also your competition approach. What do I have to expect? What do I have to look at? How do I mean, you know, you don't typically think about it. When am I going to go to the bathroom? You should be. You're high-level athletes. You have to know everything that's going on with your body and make it work for you in your competition cycle. Because if that gets in the way, you can't compete. All right. Good luck.